Everything you've been taught about men is a lie, especially when it comes to dating. I'm serious. The dating advice people throw out there, the relationship rules everyone swears by, the way people have been told to think about men, it is complete garbage. And it's not your fault. These lies come from everywhere, from movies to magazines to friends to even dating experts who's never even studied the way relationships work in the real world. But here's the brutal truth. You've been set up to fail. The advice that sounds so empowering is actually sabotaging our love life. The rules that have been made to make you feel in control are keeping you single and confused. But again, it is not your fault. And I'm about to expose the 5 biggest lies about men that have been ruining your dating life. And once you see these going on, everything will start to make sense. And you're going to start having amazing relationships with guys. Trust me, not all guys are trash. There's some bad guys out there. Well, heck, we talk about that a lot on the channel. But today, we're going to be destroying a lot of the popular dating advice because this is what's actually based in real science. So, we're exactly the same myth. Unfortunately, it is so far from the truth. Men and women are different. You have funny popular books from the past saying like, men are from Venus and women are from Mars, or maybe it's the other way around there. I don't fully remember. But the myth that has been messing with so much of our modern life is that men and women approach relationships in the exact same way, which they do not. We do not want the same things. We don't bond the same way. We don't communicate the same way. And that's why relationships are hard. They're not particularly easy. So let's go into some of the difficulties because, at the end of the day, we're all human. Relationships are more gray than they are black and white. So let's get into some of this because I've noticed this pattern countless times. When a man pulls away after getting close, you've been taught to think, he's playing games. All these rascals cheat. But no, that's not always the case. Although, on the channel, we'd be talking about the guys do be cheating. But often he's processing emotions a little differently than you are. You bond by talking through his feelings. And we know these guys actually aren't that emotionally literate. So you start talking about feelings and he's like, he needs like a freaking dictionary. He hasn't thought about his feelings in a long time. And he often bonds more by doing tasks together with you, watching a movie, working on a project, just being in the same space without having to talk. It's a very weird sensation. A lot of times he might be wanting to be on the couch. Like, these are you two, right? He's like, he's happy and he's happy. No need to chat. Like, he's just happy to have you in his presence. He doesn't necessarily need to talk all that much. And I'm not saying don't talk. Of course, talk. Talking is great. You want to talk with your partner. But the way he opens up about his emotions is not necessarily going to be the same thing. He's going to feel closer to you when you guys have like a shared task, when you guys are like going hiking and like setting up a tent. He feels connected, especially when he's doing things for you. And this is the beauty of relationships. Guys, I don't feel like will ever fully admit how much they love to do stuff for you. Like, he literally lives to serve your life. And he feels connected when you appreciate what he does for you. So let's say you want to get your tennis racket restrung, and he goes out and does that for you. You just give him babe, I thank you so much. I love it when you do these for me. He will feel like, I love it. I want to do more for her. When he remembers to grab your favorite coffee and you mention like, babe, I love when you do that for me. And that's another thing. We have to reward the positive things that he do and obviously take away the attention on the negative things that he does. So when you expect him to communicate exactly like you and your gal pals do, there's something missing there because it's just ultimately different the way men and women communicate. Guys often communicate through solutions, and this is a huge thing. This is a huge thing I had to learn, even with sisters. They'd be like, stop rushing to give me a solution. Just listen to what I'm saying. And I was like, I hear what you're saying. Here's the solution. It didn't fully clock to me until much later in life. All right, let's go into number 2. And this is the never make the first move trap. People always say my singing voice is incredible and that like I have the handwriting of like Picasso. That they're always saying that in the comments. So you've been told a lot of times, don't chase, attract. And hey, I agree with that, but to an extent, right? Like we can't be totally passive. We can't just hang out in our apartment and be like, when is Mr. Right going to come to my front doorstep? Because unless you want to date the Uber Eats delivery driver or you want to date the Amazon delivery guy, nothing wrong with that. But if that's your only options, you're going to be limited. So a real man is actually afraid to approach you a lot of times. And I know this comes off as weird, but I'd say 95% of guys don't approach. They're nervous. So I used to coach men in dating. I was like a hitch, so to speak. And you would literally have to push these guys. They would go practically catatonic. They'd be like, I don't want to go talk to her. I'm nervous. Because when a guy actually likes you, then he's really afraid to talk to you. And this advice, of don't do anything. Like, let him come to you. Never text first. You're going to look needy. It comes from a good place, being like, hey, don't overinvest. Like, don't give him 90% and him only give you 10%, because you've seen those guys that just like, they never give you anything. You end up chasing them and they're never going to commit, unfortunately. That's where that advice comes from. But for a guy that really likes you and a guy that like you can build a very lasting relationship with, oftentimes he's very nervous. So I don't want you sitting on the sideline making no effort to bring this guy into your life. So here's how you can make it easy for him. And we often talk about this on the channel, is you want to plant the seed and let him water it. Do the 5% action, and let him do the other 95% action, right? So as an example, let's say that we are in line at the coffee shop and there's the guy in front of us is kind of cute. Just ask him, hey, what are you going to get? Hey, do you know what's good here? That little statement, doesn't matter what exactly you say. There's no perfect line I can teach you, but just opening up the conversation. All right, you two are standing next to each other at the bar. Hey, what are you gonna order? Give him a little bit, give him that 5%, and then let him carry the conversation from there. Because if you guys open the door for a guy, he will walk through it, right? And I'm not saying like go chase him down the street like, sir, I need you to talk to him. Just a little bit. It's not full attract, don't chase. Although I believe with that, give him a little bit, and he will walk very, very far. Because a guy, I don't want you just to be passive in love, because we cannot wait for these guys to make a move, because I swear 95%, and I used to coach guys, I know this definitively. They are so afraid of getting rejected that if you just give them a little bit and they feel like, oh, okay, she's not going to reject me, they'll go for it. All right. Let's get into number 3. Boop, boop, boop. Number 3 is love should be easy. If only. Love should be easy. I feel like that'd be a nice song. Although I feel like the songs about love tend to be sad. So I think we all inherently know like relationships are hard because it's two people actively moving in space. All right. So this is probably one of the most damaging myths that I see, is that, when you meet the right guy, everything's going to be perfect. There will be no conflicts. Oh, it will be amazing. Now, unfortunately, good relationships, they require work. And both people have things to work on. This is why like a relationship is so important. We'll call this like, growth over time. So let's say you guys both start in similar spaces. Like maybe you're a little bit above him, maybe he's a little bit below you, but you guys are growing together over time and continuously improving. Now the problem tends to come is when one of you stops working on yourself, or maybe both of you. So like, let's say this is you're crushing it. You're still in your stuff, and he's all the way down here. This is breakup zone. This is, whoa. He's not on his mission, right? So relationships are not always easy because a lot of times we try to invest in somebody's potential. We can't bring them with us. So the love should be easy, but not easiest. And I know I'm sounding some contradictory things here, but just if you can take this, is to say, hey, every day is not going to be easy in a relationship. You guys have to constantly commit to one another and commit to growth. And just because you guys have a few arguments doesn't mean you're not compatible. Now, if 30% of your relationship is arguments, then yeah, you guys aren't compatible. But strong couples, they aren't the ones who never have problems. They're the ones who work through problems together. I've seen relationships end because someone expected their partner to automatically know why they were upset as a mind reader, but never actually communicated it. Another thing we always tell people is, hard conversations, easy life. Because if you actually articulate your boundaries, you're going to have a much better time weeding out the people you don't like, and you're going to have your boundaries respected. Versus if you never have the conversation, you're like, he should just know. You're like, I mean, should he? Should he know? It depends on where he grew up, all his culture, all these different things. So a lot of the times we had to have adult conversations and teach people. This goes for, and usually the guys, truthfully, like they're way worse at this. So ladies, that's why I talk to you, because you guys are so much better at, doing the internal work to make these relationships work. And you've been taught that, needing to express your feelings in the relationship, may feel like the relationship's failing. But the healthiest relationships I know require ongoing communication, ongoing compromise, ongoing support. And real love, it isn't effortless. It requires real work. And, unfortunately, a lot of guys don't want to do that work. But I know you guys are committed because you're watching this video, that you are committed to doing the work. He should be my everything. I really don't like this one. All right, so I really get bugged at a wedding when they're like, I'm marrying my best friend, and in theory you're like, oh, that's so amazing. But we've often been taught, and funny enough, my mom agrees with this wholeheartedly. She always says this: is we've been taught that your partner should be everything, your best friend, your therapist, your entertainer, your emotional support person, your social coordinator, your chef, all rolled into one person. But that is so much pressure between the two of you. And honestly, it's exhausting for everyone involved. And this is why, like, women have such a tough time. It's like, oh, I'm expected to raise the family, take care of the kids, go to work, do this, do that, do all the emotional care, remember all the nieces and nephews' birthdays. It's like, that's a lot for one person. So here's what actually happens when you make him responsible for like meeting a lot of different needs. That really, what the phrase "it requires a village" is so helpful. It's like, whoa. I'm watching my parents help raise my niece, and I'm just like, wow, it requires so much help just to raise one singular child. It's like, it's so hard for people to put all this pressure on their spouse to be good at everything when it really does require a village. So again, we got to remember that we can't have him be our best friend, our therapist, our gal pal, analyzing every social situation. We have to kind of compartmentalize. Be like, he's a good lover. He's good at working. He brings home some money, and that's good enough for a healthy relationship as long as he's like in a growth mindset that he can have those emotional conversations with you. So a partner should add to your life, not complete it. Again, this is why we always say build a life that is you can add them into, and they're not your complete life. All right. So let's go into number 5. The secret test game. All right, let's go into the secret test game. This one drives me crazy because it destroys good relationships all the time. You've been taught to create, mental tests that, if he doesn't know exactly what I'm thinking, if he doesn't remember that I liked flowers, he would care. He would know exactly why I'm upset. And if he was serious, he'd want to spend every weekend with me. But here's what's really happening. Men often show, and we talked about this in number 1, is men show their love through their actions, not mind reading. Oftentimes, guys are not very emotionally mature. They're not very plugged in. Like they're really trying to guess. Guys do figure it out eventually, but like with what level of negative ramifications when we can just articulate exactly what's making us upset. So if he fixes something for you without asking, that is his way of showing love. When he includes you in plans with his friends, that's commitment. When he listens to you vent without trying to immediately solve your problems. And truthfully, guys need to be taught to do that. If they come up from like all boys school, or they come up spending a lot of time with guys, they often don't know that they shouldn't just jump in and provide solutions. So you oftentimes have to teach them that. And I've noticed men and women, again, they have completely different love languages. Learning to recognize his love language and your love language, this isn't something we need to test him on. It's something that we grow as the relationship goes. So what actually works after literally consulting on thousands of relationships is owning our own mistakes, committing to mutual growth, clear communication, and working to be better every single day. I love you. Ciao.